Would you like to double check right now? I'm gonna check it right now. The vast majority was Whataburger. You get your In-N-Out looking ass out of here. Hey guys, it's not better. It's not. Even the comments said that Whataburger is better. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Alex from Fitment Industries, Alex.fi, and on this episode of So You Want, we're here to talk about you wanting to stance your car. This is just like one of those things. It's one of those things that just make you go, Stancing or just getting proper fitment on your car is quite the challenge we see quite often, if you can believe it. That sometimes understanding the complexity of getting proper fitment is more than just running those 18 by 8.5 plus 35s. You may laugh, but we were all there once, okay? And you can't judge. You were there. I remember when you were 16. Don't tell me for a second when you were 16 years old you thought you had it unlocked, because I know you didn't. Unless your dad was super into it, in which case you just never made a mistake. Stancing your car has gotten properly popular. After all, what used to take ages of forum research, measuring, and guessing had now become even easier with the birth of YouTube. So you want to stance your car. Well, buckle up, because here are some things you're gonna want to know and/or think about as you go through the lovely process of making your car more difficult to daily drive. But damn, does it look so good. So first things first, getting proper fitment, especially what we would call stance, is a process. It's extremely difficult to nail the look you may want right off the bat, because you don't actually really know what you really want until you start diving in. They may get the wheels and realize that a meaty setup is better, because that setup just looks dope on Evo 10s. And if you got a meaty setup, yes, hell yeah, brother. As you're going through the process of getting that proper fitment or stance, the next thing to know is if you're doing an off-meta stance fitment build, you're gonna wanna measure about 10 times and buy once. It's too often, too damn often, that individuals measure once, then a second time, get a different number than the first time, and they're like, oh, it's gotta be the second one. And it's not what I would do, it's not what we would recommend. You see, champs, getting that proper fitment is a matter of millimeters for the car scene. Now, the truck scene, it's like send around some 22 by 12s and let them suckers stick out like 6 inches, because who cares if it's a negative 77, a negative 81, a negative 102, whatever it is, it don't really matter. It's just gonna poke a little bit more. You see, in car language, it's the difference. And you could have 2 degrees on a static setup of camber and you're gonna have it really locked in. But everything is a math problem. And if you're not good at math, you're probably gonna fail like stance class. You're gonna wanna measure over and over and over until you have your numbers dialed in, especially before picking up your preferred wheels. In a perfect world, your wheels, suspension components, and as a fail-safe, your camber should allow you to dial in the wheel perfectly and without spacers. But it's not a perfect world, is it, bud? 3mm spacers are going to become an extremely common purchase for the first few times you do a full proper fitment setup. Now there's nothing wrong with spacers. It's just one of those things that as you go into measuring, you'll learn better and better over more and more time. When you do go into proper fitment though, there are suspension options of going static or using air suspension. Now, both have their pros and cons. You can pick up on both at fitmentindustries.com. Static looks killer all the time, but makes it painfully difficult to drive. Ask us how we know. And air allows you to, drive your car low without sacrificing much. But also it has more parts, which means more things can be prone to breaking. And if you live in any other state besides California, because apparently California has lovely weather all the time, you have to deal with rust and salt and grime and things like that. When delving into proper fitment, you gotta be dedicated if you go static, like truly dedicated. And allow me to put you through a quiz to determine if you're dedicated enough. Welcome to Alex's stance class. Here's question 1. When you talk to your friend and you say, hey, I want to start going to the gym 3 times a week, do you A, go 3 times a week, B, go 1 time a week, C, don't go at all, or D, go 7 times a week. Now, if you answered anything, if you even hesitated about answering anything besides D, you'll probably not want to go static because it's a commitment to the game that is tough to handle if you want to enjoy your car more than just once in a while. It's not like a selective love. You don't get to like just somewhat love it somewhat of the time, because once you have it set up, you're there, bud, and it's gonna be there for a long time. Stancing your car also takes into account plenty of other variables: tire stretching, spring rate, preload, camber, even your toe, wheel specs, and more. But one section that people have a tendency to forget about would be your bushings and your control arms. Those can help a ton in terms of precise measurement to help dial in your suspension at movement, at bumps, at everything in between, so that you're not running around on something that looks good when it's not moving but is ultimately failing when the car is actually running. Every time you dial in your suspension and your other components, the tighter your fitment and stance will become. And if we had any cues, it's to go for knowing as much about suspension as possible. A lot of times people's go-to for making wide wheels fit is camber angle. But with proper knowledge, fabrication, some risk, and a little bit of love, you can dial in proper fitment without having to go hella camber. That's one of the biggest misconceptions when we talk about anybody wanting to get stance out of their car. You're gonna wanna grab a Sawzall, look at that inner plastic liner, dead in the eyeballs, and say to yourself, we don't need this. You don't. Just cut out the little thing. You can heat it up with a little heat gun and just press it forward with your shoe. You're gonna be fine. So you want to stance your car. Sweet. It's more than just going hella camber and calling everyone a hater when they call out your shattered fender. It is an art. Stance can be a meaty, proper setup that leaves little to no wheel gap for the track. Or it can be dialing in 12 wides on an over-fendered static car. There's different types of fitment. Stance is just probably one of the most common. But I think that everything can have a little bit of stance. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of ravioli on that pasta. Either way, stancing a car is somewhat like a good steak. Most can do it with basic lorries, a grill, and a flipper. But to make a steak people remember, you gotta know, you gotta go the extra mile, you know, you gotta go with the seasoning, the meat, the temperature. You gotta put that on the tin foil. You do 6 minutes on both sides, and then you do 5 minutes of rest in the tin foil with the potatoes. Then you let it sit out on the plate, switch plates so that you don't get too much blood on there, because medium rare is the way to eat it. But anyway, enjoy the ride, know the potential consequences, and send it once you have the information. You make your decision on how you want your setup to properly look. And if you're still on the fence of what you want to do for your wheel and tire joist, well, come on over to our online gallery where you can see about 1 million cars that have aftermarket wheels, tires, and suspension setup. That's pretty much what we do here. It's like a thing. So if you haven't caught on yet, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell button, because this is the stuff that we kind of talk about. You can actually put in your year, make, and model and figure out what you want, bud. It's like the best way. You can see menus of all kinds, so you never have to worry about making a mistake. But anyway, I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. Don't forget to subscribe. Head over to fitmentindustries.com. You can add your car if you got an aftermarket car anyway. We love it. We give you a shout out on Instagram. I'm Alex. We will see you later. Peace.